Alright, let's test this out and see if this is audible. Can I check my audio? See if my audio is transmitting. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's see, let's adjust this microphone a little bit. The challenges of having a one-man crew. You really wanna do things, but you don't have the director of videography. So find yourself having to do everything on your own. Testing if camera 2 can see. Camera 3 is refusing to come on board. It is what it is. Let's see. We're getting there now. All right, everybody, welcome to this live stream on behalf of the Afrikan Peer Growth Network. Those of you who follow us, who follow the work that we do, will remember that we do a lot of work around research from an African perspective, particularly research from the African continent that is about decolonizing, that is about transforming, that is about moving the African continent away from its current stance where it accounts for simply less than 1% of all the research output that comes out of the continent. So the claim is that the research output coming out of the continent, about less than 1% of that research is produced by Africans. So we established this platform to try and ensure that we encourage Africans to do research about African issues in order for them to find African solutions to these African problems. So we usually broadcast these in our YouTube channel, which is titled the Research Platform. So the Afrikan Peer Growth Network, known in short as APGRON, publishes all these materials under the Afrikan Peer, under the Research Platform on YouTube. So once this particular live stream is done, we will edit it and put it under the YouTube stream as well. For some reason we couldn't stream to both at the same time, so because this is the only time I have now at lunch to do this, I thought let me just go ahead anyway and just live stream on Facebook. We'll deal with YouTube later. And apologies for the noise that you might be hearing from the background. If anyone is here, please indicate if my audio is okay. We're testing this system for the first time today. Yes, I'm apologizing for the noise in the background because my neighbor is renovating. Try to do this outside because if I've done it in the studio is too close to the perimeter. The noise would have been even more annoying if I was in the studio. So do it under the trees anyway. So yeah, this is it. What are we talking about today? Most of you will notice that the University of South Africa opened the application period for the postgraduate qualification, that is your master's and your doctorate. So there's the LLM and the PhD or the LLD, depending on what stream you are following. So it's now open at UNISA for 2024 intake, beginning from the 14th of September to the 10th of November 2023. So not the closing date, is 10th November 2023. After that, you will not be able to apply for a space at the University of South Africa's LLM and Master's intake for 2024. So what are the requirements for actually applying for these particular qualifications? Let's look at them now. Now, number one, you need to note that you can only apply for these qualifications online. You can't just walk into a brick and mortar building and make your application there. You need to ensure that you apply with the regulations to apply online, because everything has gone online these days and it's much easier. It's much more streamlined. So you apply online, and you can only do that there online, not in a brick and mortar building. You need to have a student number. So this is much easier for those who have done a formal qualification with UNISA before, such as an LLB or some other qualification, because they already have a student number. They will therefore use that particular student. But for those who do not have a student number, the process is a little bit different. They must first start by getting themselves a student number. There's a process to do that. You do it online. Just go click UNISA online, apply for the student number quickly. Once you have the student number, then you come apply for the formal qualification. So the two processes are different. But for those who are former students of UNISA, who have done a formal qualification with UNISA, they already have a student number, so it's much easier. They can simply just go ahead and apply. Apologies, I'm recovering from a bit of flu that I had last week, so hence the coughing now and then. The other thing to note is that you need to have your SAQA evaluation on hand. So if it's already there, you need to submit it when you apply for your master's for 20 or for your PhD for 2024. Now, we all know that the SAQA evaluation is required only for those who carry, only for those who are graduates of universities which are outside South Africa. But if you are, excuse me, if you are a graduate of a South African university, then you don't need that SAQA evaluation. The SAQA evaluation is only for those who graduated from external, or what we can call foreign universities. Now let's move on to the next step. There's an application fee involved, which is an application fee of 135 Rand, which you can also pay online. Many people will apply and not pay the application fee. Do not make that mistake. Do not make that mistake. Pay that application fee because it is necessary for you to do so. It will affect whether your application is considered or not. So it's important to pay that particular application fee. And all this information that I'm giving you is already on the UNISA website. Just Google it, UNISA LLM and LLD applications for 2024. That information will come up. But I thought, let me just talk about it here for those who may not necessarily readily want to do that research, but they want the information now. So you need to also do this in order to ensure that your application is, looked at favorably. You need to upload all the supporting documents. So when you are required to upload your qualifications, whatever document you are required to upload, make sure that it is uploaded. Otherwise, you are putting yourself at risk of not being able to be considered for the application that you have applied for. So now this takes me to the next question that most people often ask me about. Which masters exactly to apply for? And for someone who's never really considered this, or for the ordinary student, this question doesn't make sense. But once I unpack it, it will make sense to you. There are two types of students. There's the student who believes that they must be taught. In other words, that they must undergo coursework. They must have a lecturer in front of them, course material. And once they've interrogated or they interacted with that course material, taken through assignments and assessed. Once they've taken through assessments and assessed, they must then examine it finally at the end of the academic year, that examination grade. So there are students who favor that approach to teaching and learning. But then there are those who are like me, who don't necessarily love or enjoy sitting inside the classroom and being lectured to, but they enjoy going out there and finding the information by themselves through research. So that type of student is then covered by the second stream of masters called masters by research. So the first one is masters by coursework, or what we call a taught masters. So the taught masters or masters by coursework, it involves a set number of modules that the student must first pass before moving on to a mini dissertation, a mini thesis. So there's usually at UNISA there's 4 modules that the student must pass. After having passed those modules, they can then begin to work on their proposal and their research for the mini thesis. So the difference between the two is that the masters by research is purely by research. There are no exams, there are no assignments, there is no lecturer basically that's teaching you anything. It's just you and your supervisor. You do the research, your supervisor oversees your research. Once you finish, it's examined, boom, you've got your masters. So no assignment, due dates, no examination due dates. Simply you, your research, your supervisor, and the examining panel, and just like that, your master's is done. I love that method of doing master's studies compared to the one where you do it because it's just my personal preference. It's just that's how I have to do it. But I get this question a lot, and I often advise students to go with research. This is my bias. There are people who don't like research, which is why it makes sense for them to then do a small research paper called the mini thesis after doing 4 modules, which then gives them, or which then tackles them to receive their masters through coursework. So what are the differences between these two? The taught masters, or the masters by coursework, the mini thesis there is so mini that if you look at it properly, it's almost like a journal article in its size. It can take between 10,000 words and 15,000. Boom, that's it. Just like that. So that's the difference between the two. So the mini dissertation is a short mini dissertation of 10 to 15,000 words, which is suitable for the student who doesn't love doing research that much. But for those who love doing research, they can then opt for the Masters by Research, which requires you to conclude a 25,000 to 45,000 word document, and then you get your Masters by Research. So those are the two differences. So if you're opting to do a Masters by Research, you will be expected to produce between 40,000, between 25,000 and 45,000 words as your research. Now you may be asking yourself, what is the word count for an LLD or a Doctor of Laws or a PhD, a Doctor of Philosophy at UNISA? The PhD at UNISA begins from 40,000 words to 100,000 words. I remember at my university where I did my thesis for the LLD, it was between 80,000 and 100,000. And at some point I ran out of things to write, and I was at 78,000. And I remember spending a whole 2 weeks trying to come up with just 2,000 words just to hit the limit and say I'm done with this thing, I can submit it now. But yeah, in our case, it's between 40,000 and 100,000 words. That's if you're looking to do the doctoral studies, the LLD or the PhD, and thereafter graduate and be called Dr. So-and-so, join the ranks of the doctoralship where some of us operate. So that's what you need to produce. But at the master's level, which is where I get most questions, just to recap, for the mini thesis, it's 10,000 to 15,000 words only after finishing the 4 modules that are taught modules. But if you're doing it as a master's by research, you are then expected to produce between 25,000 and 45,000 words. If your examiners are happy with that, boom, graduate with your master's in law. So the other requirement that UNISA will ask you to produce when you apply for the master's, a research outline. What is a research outline? I often simplify it like this for my students, my prospective students, those who want to join UNISA. I often simplify it. I often say to them, it's simply your proposal, but zoomed in. Simply your proposal shrunk into a smaller micro proposal. The requirements are that must be between 5 and 25 pages, but I often advise people to keep it on the lower side of the scale. In other words, if you push it to 25,000 words, 25,000, so 25 pages, we're already on the brink of a full proposal. And it's a bit dangerous because you have not interacted with your supervisor yet. You're still trying to get admitted and allocated a supervisor so that they can then speak to the quality and direction of your proposal. So when we are still at the research outline stage, which you need to upload as a prerequisite for your application online, I would say keep it on the lower end. The requirement is 5 to 25 pages. I'd say keep it between 5 and maybe at most 10 pages. Don't make it too big because your supervisor is still going to interact with you and interact with your work and give you direction. When you start working in 2024 after the university, if the university favorably admits you into the program. So keep it short and simple. It must contain a proposed title. It must contain your student details. We've seen a number of documents submitted and you don't know who the author is. And that's the first mistake you can make. Don't make that mistake. Make sure student details are there. Make sure that your proposed qualification is indicated. Make sure that the college and the department in which the qualification is housed are also indicated. Make sure that your research area is also outlined. What is the research area? Are you looking at international criminal law? Are you looking at international economic law? Are you looking at the law of contracts? Are you looking at the law of payment instruments? Just zone in and make sure that your research focus area is visible. Your email address must also be indicated as well. Now, the other crucial thing that must be indicated in your research outline when you submit it for this application is the following. You must have a problem statement, because you cannot be embarking on research if there's no problem. I mean, if you want to know more about this, go to the YouTube channel, the research platform, where we have lots and lots of information about how to craft a research proposal, what the elements of a research proposal are, and how how to approach that particular question, what that we call a research question. So yeah, go to our YouTube channel, the research platform, where the African Peer Growth outlines these things. You will find more information that will assist you. But yes, your research outline must contain a problem statement. What is the problem? What problem is presented in society that has motivated you to actually begin or to embark on this particular proposal? You must also indicate the significance of the study. Is the study significant? Are you just studying it for the sake of studying it? You must also include your aims and objectives. So you must have at least just one general aim, which must start with the word to. Again, in our YouTube channel, unpack what aims and objectives are. Send you to the YouTube channel, the research platform, and you will find there information about what aims and objectives are. And these objectives must be specific, they must be measurable, they must be achievable, they must be relevant, and they must be time bound. But go to our YouTube channel to find more information there. You must have research questions. That's important. We also cover this a lot in our YouTube channel. Go there, find information there. You will need it in your research outline. Otherwise, your research outline, if you don't have the research question, the message that you're communicating to the person who's assessing your application is that this person is not worth it. This person doesn't know what to do. This person is a waste of time. So do not, come about as a wastage of time. Make sure that when you make your application, it contains a research question, one overarching research question. And I would say for the research outline, just one question is sufficient. You can then develop further sub-questions when you prepare your proposal with the help of your supervisor once you're admitted by the institution. But for now, at least one research question must stand out so that we know that this person knows the area, they've read around the area, and they understand what the controversies are, what the problems are, what the debates are. Hence, they've crafted this particular question. It must contain a literature review. In other words, you can't be telling us you will be looking at the emergence of coup d'etats in Africa, but you have no literature to refer to. Because you must convince us that you will be able to sustain master's research on this particular topic. And how identify, how do you justify or prove that to us? Prove that to us by showing us that you've interacted with other scholars and other reports in the field. We then go to the other requirement of the research outline, which is methodology. Is it a quantitative study or qualitative study? Again, go to our research platform, research platform portal on YouTube, and you'll find more information on research design and methodology. And then that could help you to craft this particular research outline. Of course, you must have a list of references, or what we call a bibliography, because without a bibliography, without a list of references, how do we know where you took the information from? Surely it didn't come from your head, you read it somewhere. So a list of references or a bibliography is critical. Make sure that yours contains one. The research outline also requires you to have a proposed budget and an indication of how the study will be funded. at this stage, you might not even know how the study would be funded, but you can actually say that, at the moment, you do not have a bursary or anything, but you are actively looking for a scholarship or a bursary. You're hoping that that bursary is the one that's going to fund, failing which you will look for sources of funding yourself, self-finance. It's as simple as that. It's not a train smash, really. So yeah, that's the long and short of it. I was trying to respond to the question that I usually get mostly online from people who want to know whether they should register for the masters by coursework or the masters by research. I have packed it, indicated that the masters by research is purely just that. It's you, your supervisor, and your thesis. Between 25,000 and 45,000 words for the masters, and between 40,000 and 100,000 words for the PhD. And remember, we don't have a taught PhD. Personally, I don't believe in the concept of taught PhD, or what we would call a structured PhD. But that's just my preference. I believe at PhD level, you and you alone should be giving us new information, contributing to it. You can't be structured programs for you at PhD. But at master's level, we can structure them for you, which is why we give you the coursework masters, where you do 4 modules, you get assignments, exams for that. Once you pass that, you then move to a more small mini dissertation of 10,000 to 15,000 words, vis-a-vis the 25,000 to 45,000 words that you do for the masters by research. So I hope all those who were asking me about this are now have now been clarified, and they are ready to run with the application process to become part of the University of the Land, the biggest university on the continent, dare I say, in the global south, in many respects. I would like to welcome you aboard. We'd like you to join us. We'd like to supervise you. We'd like you to join us and part of UNISA alumni. We'd like you to become part of UNISA graduates, go out and become great people across the world. So we're looking forward to your applications. We're looking forward to your research outlines. We're looking forward to supervising you guys. Don't be shy to, reach out to any potential supervisor via email and say, "Hey, Prof, I saw your outline, saw your, your research profile. I'm also interested in supervised in this area or that area. Would you be interested in supervising, research of this particular kind?" And obviously my colleagues will be able to assist you in that regard. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what this live stream was about. We had intended to do it simultaneously on Facebook and on YouTube, but technology said no, and because the lunch hour is the 1 hour that I had to actually present this to you, I then took the decision to just go ahead and away with just the Facebook live stream, and we'll then take that live stream and put it up on YouTube as well, so that those who access YouTube can also have access to this information, which can change the life of an individual. Remember, at the African Peer Growth Network, or otherwise known as APGRON, we believe in the mantra from rhetoric to action. You stop talking about it, you start doing it. You cannot, for the past 10 years, have been telling us, "I'm starting my master's this year, I'm starting my master's this year," and actually not do it in real life. It cannot be like that. Rhetoric, the time for rhetoric is gone. We're now all about action. Let's see you apply for this master's. Let's see you be admitted to this master's program, so that next year, 2024, you could be one of our students. You could be a member of the student body of the University of the whole country. And remember, we're all about decolonized, Africanized, knowledge production. We want knowledge production to be an African movement. We want Africans to produce knowledge about themselves for themselves, instead of Africans being told by Africans what African needs. My name is Professor Angela Dubia, and catch you